is about. We are a capitalist society, right? We rely on capitalism, free and open trade. So your, I don't even like to use the word boss, but the leader of the House, Miss Speaker, Miss Nancy Pelosi, over in Europe, yakking over the weekend, makes a statement, bring the headlines up, guys, thank you, rips into capitalism, saying, quote, Congressman, that capitalism has not served our economy as well as it should. Please put up Nancy's net worth and her very rich investment broker type husband who is a venture capitalist. These two combined are worth over $223 million, Byron, and she has the audacity to say capitalism doesn't work. I'll just leave it with you for the final word.
Listen, growing up, I was always taught you mind your own business and you don't involve yourself with other people's money and you keep your hands out of their pockets. Nancy Pelosi and her husband have done incredibly well in quote-unquote capitalism. They live great. If you see her pearls up close and personal, folks, they're big pearls and they're real. God bless her and her husband for having the ability to actually make money in our country. But for her to come out and say capitalism hasn't served our country well is, again, it's insane commentary from somebody who doesn't appreciate what capitalism has done for the United States. Forget her story. Let's talk about mine. I grew up poor. I grew up in the inner city of Brooklyn, New York. A function of capitalism that allowed me to actually earn money for my children, for my family, to actually live an upper middle class life before I got to Congress. You know, I actually had a job, like a real one, not the people running around in Washington, D.C. These people are fools because they try to demean the very economy, the very structure of government that has allowed all of this to thrive and prosper. This is why she should no longer be in charge. If Democrats were smart, they would get rid of her now, but I know they're not that bright, so she's going to stick around for a little while longer. But this is also why Republicans are going to be taking back the House in a very short amount of time. Because if you want to demean capitalism, the very thing that's created everything we see around us, the thing, like, quite frankly, that liberals also in Hollywood take for granted, then you truly don't understand what makes America great. It's a sad commentary for somebody who has been elected as long as she has.
Well, see, I look at it as she's trying to tell people capitalism isn't working for you, so we, the elite, powerful, rich over here, are going to stay in power, and let's institute socialism and communism in this country so we can take charge fully of your lives. That's the way I see it. But anyway, Congressman Byron Donalds from the great state of Florida, thank you so much, as always, for coming on the program. You take care, sir.
Thanks for having me on. Take it easy.
All right, so in terms of these mandates that they keep finding loopholes and ways around, right, to make us take a vax that, as you heard the Congressman and I discuss, is still experimental. Well, over the weekend, the all-almighty Dr. Fauci now saying that the unvaccinated are going to face many struggles in this country, like attending college or even, yes, getting or keeping a job if they refuse to get vaxxed. As I always say, don't believe me, take it from the horse's mouth.
Or other who just do not want to comply and get vaccinated. We've got to get them vaccinated. And hopefully they will do it willingly. If not, there will have to be things that will essentially put pressure on them, such as you're not going to work in this particular agency or institution. You're not going to be able to go to this college or this university unless, in fact, you get vaccinated. And I believe that once we start doing that, you will see more and more people willingly get vaccinated.
History are doomed to repeat it. And we may be seeing a rerun of January 6th in just a few weeks. That's right. This is when extremist groups are planning a rally to demand justice, in quotes, for those who have been charged in the original insurrection. And this is according to the AP and CBS News.
Those extremist groups are going to descend on the Capitol again. We better put the fence up and get hundreds of cops out there and undercover agents because it's going to get horrible. Do you all know what happened this weekend on September 18th at our Capitol building? There were probably more federal agents and more members of the media than actual demonstrators who came out for the Justice for J6. That was the name of the event. People wanting justice for the people who are still being imprisoned, who are facing bogus claims of insurrection, which, oh, by the way, they're not charging anybody with a coup or insurrection. They're getting like criminal trespass. But there's people still being jailed, and there's people upset about it. And so they hold a peaceful, by the way, peaceful rally this weekend in which only a couple hundred showed up because many were fearful that if they went, there would be violence by Antifa, by BLM, or that they would be set up. And the media was sitting there ready to pounce on them. Because the media, of course, has a love affair with pushing this lie that it was a bunch of extremists that pre-planned a big attack, a coup on January 6th, which we know, and we've shown you the report from the FBI. And I believe Reuters already put an article out the other day after it saying, no, it was no pre-planned coup by Donald Trump, Roger Stone, Alex Jones, whatever names they want to come up with. It was not. It was a peaceful rally that a few agitators and other folks turned ugly on January 6th. Now, let's fast forward to the one this weekend. This rally was organized by the director of Look Ahead America, Matt Brainard. We've had Matt on the program before. There he is. Matt said this was all in an effort to get to the bottom of what went down on the 6th. Wouldn't we all like to know? Because we know Capitol Police and Nancy Pelosi are refusing to release thousands and thousands of hours of video footage from the 6th that were taken that day on the Capitol grounds and in the surrounding area, where we could learn a lot more about what really went down. Again, the organizer, Brainard, saying that we must get to the bottom of what happened on January 6th for all of America.
This is about the many people who were there that day who have not been charged with violence, not been accused of assaulting a police officer, destroying property, and disparate treatment they've received. This is about equal treatment under the law. This is about a public investigation into many of the things that happened that have not been investigated publicly or third-party oversight, especially the death of Ashley Babbitt.
That sounds like some reasonable stuff, just wanting to investigate and get some answers. So another gentleman who happened to be there this weekend is one of our newest OAN correspondents out of our Washington, D.C. bureau, Scott Wheeler. He joins me now. Scott, I was watching your live broadcast with our news side of the house over the weekend, and I looked behind you. I watched for several minutes. It all seemed very peaceful. I didn't hear of any outbreaks of skirmishes or anybody coming to do harm to Capitol Police or storm the Capitol again. So to me, but you were there, so I want you to fill my viewers in, this seemed like a whole lot of hype for nothing on the left. The mainstream media and the Democrats wanted to hype this up like it was going to be a January 6th 2.0 with a bunch of insurrectionists. Come to find out it was a couple hundred people just looking for justice, and it was nice and peaceful. Do I get that about right?
I'd say so, yes, Dan. It was rather peaceful. A lot of people, I would say 300 to 400 perhaps, and there was really, other than a couple of incidences where police carried someone off, there really wasn't any evidence of violence or any evidence that people wanted violence. There were, I noted, several people wearing very provocative T-shirts that were obviously intended to incite people. They were offensive towards the protesters, using profane language to describe President Trump and his voters. I noticed one man wearing that shirt throughout the crowd and taking selfies of himself in the crowd, and was not confronted by anyone that I could see. And there were a few others. We actually interviewed a couple of people who were counter-protesters who were inside the place where the J6 rally was being held.
And Scott, let's clarify real quick.
Told by police.
Sorry, I just want to clarify real quick. So let's call the folks that, by the way, had the legal permit, Mr. Brainard and his folks, let's call them rally goers because it was a rally to try and get information about folks. Let's call the protesters the agitators, because from what I saw in your live shot and other videos online, I would say 99.9% of the rally goers who had a legal permit to be there Saturday were the peaceful ones, and then you had protesters that were protesting the rally that were trying to agitate. That's what I saw. Is that about right?
That's correct, and
okay.
The police attempted to keep the agitators away from the rally goers. But some of them got through anyway, including the gentleman I just referred to with the profane T-shirt on. that was insulting to both Trump and to of Trump, who was taking selfies of himself. He was rather stuck out rather well among the crowd, but most of them were kept out, and there were 1,000 uniformed police presence, and I think they must have plumbed the depths of the D.C. Police Department, because they had the transit police there, those who police the subway system.
Yeah, there was more cops and more media than there were rally goers and protesters, correct? If you add up the media with the cops.
Absolutely.
Hundreds more. And I want to end on this because I thought it was funny, and you can give us an eyewitness account. Show some of those memes, guys, if we can. So a lot of people noticed there was a lot of very high and tight haircuts, kind of like mine right now, and a lot of guys in black socks with their shorts with no tans and matching watches. This looks like an advertisement for the FBI. I mean, how many undercover cops, plus they had their gun bulges in their pants, so you could see all the guns as well. These are undercover agents. I'm not stupid. Did you not see a bunch of undercover guys walking around there as well, trying to act like they were rally goers?
Well, perhaps. I am not in a position to say one way or another, but of course there are those undercover guys on the inside. I think in both the rally goers and the antagonistic protesters as well.
And again, they were probably just watching to make sure peace was kept. I get it, but there was a lot of those guys there, and I just wanted to point that out because I saw tons of posts and B-roll, and being a vet and working with FBI and military-type people, I can spot them a mile away. Those did not look like rally goers or the protesters. A lot of those pics, those guys looked like agents to me. Overall, final word with you, Scott. Everything ended peaceful, nothing like the media hyped it up to be. Would that be your assessment since you were there that day?
Absolutely. There was no evidence of violence, despite, I would say, the agitators' attempts to create some skirmishes. There were none. The police did an excellent job of keeping those groups away from one another.
Great. That's what I wanted. Wanted an eyewitness account from one of our guys who was there, who keeps it real and true. Scott Wheeler, one of our newest OAN correspondents in D.C. Thanks, Scott, for going there. Appreciate it, and the report. You take care.
You're welcome, Dan.
Yep.
Thank
you.
You.
There you go, folks. So no matter what the left says on the 6th and what went down on Capitol Hill over this past weekend, and of course the buildup from Democrats and the left-wing mainstream media and how they fear-mongered for weeks about what was going to happen. We already told you earlier with our correspondent who was there that nothing went down. It was filled more with press and Antifa, BLM, and undercover agents than anything, and everything was peaceful. Now, a man who the FBI has been out to get for a long time, that's for sure, especially since President Trump became president, is political consultant Roger Stone. Just recently, during a live radio interview, Roger was just chatting away with the hosts and all of a sudden gets served with papers in a January 6th lawsuit. This is back in August. The FBI released an exclusive report claiming that the Capitol Hill incident was not coordinated. Remember? They said, nope, not coordinated. Of course, they buried it because it came out on a Friday, the report. It also did involve a bunch of Trump supporters. And, oh, by the way, Roger had nothing to do with it. So why is he getting served papers? A former senior law enforcement official and knowledgeable about the investigation even said, quote, 90 to 95% of these are one-off cases. Then you have 5% maybe that were somehow closely tied to an organization or a militia group. But there was, quote, no grand scheme with Roger Stone and Alex Jones and all of these people to storm the Capitol and take hostages. So there you go. It's out. That's Reuters, by the way. That's a neutral to liberal news service, okay? So why are they serving Roger paperwork? What's this lawsuit about? If the FBI is point blank saying there was nothing coordinated, there's no mastermind behind it, it was an event with a lot of people, and I think agitators, as you know, who got out of hand on the 6th. So what are they doing that for? Well, let's bring on the man himself, Roger Stone, joining the program once again so we can get to the bottom of what's going on. Roger, how are you, my friend?
Excellent.
Good.
Dan, this is a tactic known as lawfare. That is the filing of baseless, groundless, meritless, sensationalized charges devoid, of course, of any evidence or proof, to have maximum publicity value, in this case, negative publicity value, and to force the target of this abuse of our judicial system to pay tens of thousands of dollars in court just to get the case dismissed. This was not really news. It was announced a week ago. A group with strong connections to Obama, Clinton's, and Soros, the so-called Lawyers for Civil Rights Under Law, not, recruited 7 Capitol Hill police officers who claim in a civil complaint filed against President Donald Trump and myself that we conspired with others to deny them their civil rights and that our actions put them in danger. This is categorically false. There's no evidence to support that. My public comments on January 5th fall well within my First Amendment rights to comment on matters of significant public interest, as the law says. I never called for violence or insurrection or lawlessness or anything.
I know. I listened to your speech that night before on the 5th. I know. You didn't say squat. It's ridiculous.
Well,
and you weren't even near the place on the 6th. So
I did express my faith in Jesus Christ. And when I said in my speech on the 5th that I saw the future fight for America as a fight between good and evil, dark and light, the godly and the godless, CNN said that was in itself an incitement to violence. No, I have a right to have a apocalyptical, Bible-based view of the struggle the country is facing, and to say that is religious bigotry.
Of course it is. Millions of people share the same sentiment, Roger. You know I do. I literally have said it. I'm looking at what's going on in the world today, and I'm saying, whether you're a Christian or not, whether you're a believer or not, whether you practice your faith or not, you've got to look at what's going on in this country and around the world, but especially in this administration, and go, up is down, wrong is right, right is wrong. I mean, defund the cops, no punishment for crimes, open borders with people coming in that don't have to get vaxxed and have COVID, yet we do, trying to get into our bank accounts, we now know the administration. I mean, everything they're trying to do is totalitarianism, it's borderline communism. This is an upside down world. So it's okay for us to say right now this is good versus evil. And that is not marching orders to say, go storm the Capitol and beat people up and take Nancy hostage. Nobody said that on the stage that day. You didn't, Jones didn't, Trump didn't. It's all a bunch of BS. But you're right. This is political theater. That's why they served you.
It's exactly what it is. Look, it is not any different than the IRS lawsuit against me by the Biden Justice Department, which is permeated with fraud. It implies, written like a press release, that my wife and I have either hidden assets or underreported income, which is categorically not true. I can prove it's not true. But again, that will go to federal court in Miami. It'll cost me tens of thousands of dollars to defend it. This is all born of the bitterness on the American left, because I escaped the deadly snare set for me so carefully by Robert Mueller and Adam Schiff and Mueller's thugs. And the American left is hysterical about the fact that I haven't already died in some COVID-19 infested prison, and Donald Trump had the courage and the strength to see that I was being railroaded and issue me an act of pardon as an act of both mercy and justice. And that drives the left absolutely insane.
Oh, yeah.
Which is why I run this guilt by association claim to try to tie me to the events of January 6th, which is, as you pointed out and Reuters reported, baseless. False.
That's right. It was not an insurrection, because insurrections are like a planned coup. They have to be organized. Nothing was organized. This was, again, organic, with a handful of pissed off people that went too far, along with, I firmly believe, agitators and an inside job, while there was hundreds of thousands of peaceful people just standing on the steps, chanting, exercising their God-given First Amendment rights. Roger, I want your take on what happened over the weekend. They had this justice for January 6th. Only a few hundred people showed up. My feeling is they didn't show because they knew that if they did, they would get painted in a bad light. They would probably be set up. And when you look at what occurred, and we just had our correspondent on who was there were more reporters and more undercover agents trying to act like rally goers. And by the way, FBI guys, dead giveaway when you got the high and tights, the same watches and the black socks in your tenny boppers. You don't look like rally goers. You look like undercover FBI agents. Duh. What do you make of the whole weekend, Roger?
Well, I actually said in an interview prior that I urged people not to go because we understand all it takes is one person, either at the direction of the government or because they're misguided, showing up with explosives or firearms, and everybody gets tainted. The danger is just too great. I said that I believed it was a setup, and you're right. There were more informants and government agents and reporters than there were protesters. But how much did it cost us to put up that fence and take it back down? This was about media hype. I saw the same thing again. So my taking receiving the civil complaint from the process server while on a live radio show with Joe Hoft of the Gateway Pundit, there's 1,000 stories about that. That went viral. Now, none of those stories include my quote saying that the lawsuit itself is flawed, boundless, unsubstantiated.
No, they just wanted the headline. They wanted Roger Stone served right before the January 6 2.0 on the 18th of September. That's all they're doing. This is political theater, and I don't know how in the hell, Roger, we wake up those sleepy folks in the middle, and yes, I'll even say it, some of those Kennedy Democrats that know this is wrong, that know what this administration is doing is wrong in their heart of hearts. They know it. They see through it. I just spoke with a Democrat. We had one on the show Friday who literally said, because her and I agree on no vax for kids, and she sees through the BS of this administration. So we've got to just keep hammering it out there because, as you said, the political theater is what grabs the headlines. We know 90% of the media is biased to the left, so we just got to keep hammering the truth out there. And Roger, thank you for just fighting back. Best to your wife. Hope she's doing well. You guys take care. We'll talk soon, okay?
God bless you. Those who want to help me in this legal battle can go to stonedefensefund.com. Unfortunately, I can't do this alone. I'm back to getting thousands of patriots who prayed for me, saved me once already from the clutches of the left. God bless you, and thanks for having me, Dan.
Yeah, I know they bled you dry last time on the last one, and they're trying to do the same again. That's how they shut you up, right? Take all your money, make you look like a bad guy in the press, and then hope you just go away. But I know you won't go away. Thank you, Roger, for all you do. You take care.
Thank you.
Yep, when we come back, time to Afghanistan. And you, my friend, know better than anybody about this.
You know, it's ridiculous. Yep, it is. It is FUBAR. And they did it. I mean, here's what really got to me was the very people that were part of the communications and the media output and the decision-making in Benghazi are the same ones that are in charge again now. And it should be shouldn't be surprising that they screwed the pooch. I mean, on getting out of Afghanistan, leaving, upwards. I mean, we're hearing anywhere from 200 to 1,000 Americans behind.
Yeah.
Either U.S. citizens or at least third country nationals that have green cards to the U.S.
Right.
And
it's sickening. It's sickening.
It is.
Mark, now your impression of the strike, because I saw this exactly, and I'll tell you what, you can ask my producers behind the scenes. When we did that strike, less than 2 days after they hit us at the airport with the bombing, I said, they didn't get them. How do we know that's even the right people? They're lying to make Joe look tough, like a tough commander-in-chief. I said it that day on the strike. And now look, they finally, 2.5 weeks later, admit, we hit innocent civilians, we killed kids, and you got the French doing our job. We hear the French did a strike in Africa, and they might have got the mastermind with ISIS-K that planned the damn bombing. The French.
Yeah, that's that's the country that we just again screwed the pooch over by undermining them in the sale of that submarine and all of that, and they pulled their ambassador out of the U.S. I mean, right. Joe Biden is doing such a great job to reach out, and I think he should write a book, how to win friends and influence people.
Yeah, what happened to the great unifier? Oh, I'm going to restore the America's footing across the world. Yeah, right there it says, France says killed ISIS leader behind deaths of U.S. soldiers, hails big victory. That's NBC News reporting it. I mean, yep. we all know there's a joke, right, about the French since World War II, that we're usually the guys backing them up and bailing them out. They go and get the mastermind, and we lie about it and kill kids. And this guy's still our commander-in-chief. I don't understand why Democrats aren't screaming from the rooftops, get rid of him.
And here's what I'm hearing from people that are on the ground in that neighborhood, sources that have reached out, and those kids wouldn't even have came out of that building. That's their home. they came out because their father was just getting home from work, and they had all came out to greet him. And they come out to greet him, and what do? We put a tomahawk, we put a missile right down there, down that stovepipe, and kill 7 innocent kids. I mean, when I heard that, it just, it broke my heart that we as a country, that we as the technology that we have and the military capabilities that we have screwed up this bad. I mean,
Mark, it's because they were trying to make Joe look like a tough wartime commander-in-chief. Oh, we got hit, we're going to hit back. We didn't do good enough surveillance. We don't even know what the intelligence is. We're just going to hit. And then all the mainstream media jumped on board. You remember it that day that Joe got back. A righteous hit. Liars.
Well, and their heads should roll all the way up to the President of the United States. I mean, whoever gave the false information, whoever then approved and knowing that they screwed up, then kept the lie going. There's a whole bunch more people that should be putting in their letters of resignation or getting out of politics.
Exactly. Mark Geist, I'm out of time. You and I could sit around and chew on this for hours, I'm sure. The book, you guys know it. It was made into a film as well. Highly rated. Read it. You want to know what happened to brave people before in harm's way when Democrats are in charge and leave people behind? Read his book or watch the movie. You'll see what they did to Mark and his crew over there and our ambassador in Benghazi, which will remind you of what they're doing in Afghanistan now, as we said at the beginning of this interview, continuing to screw the pooch. Mark, thank you for your service as always, brother. God bless you. You take care.
You too, Dan. God bless.
Congressman tweeting over the weekend, since becoming a congressman, I have visited the southern border twice, which is twice as much as POTUS and once more than our VP, for those paying attention. This crisis has been out of control since Biden took office. Amen. The administration is allowing this to happen. This is their crisis. No kidding. Joining us now, Florida Congressman Byron Donalds. Congressman, you and I have sat here and we about what's happening. Then we see what's going down in Del Rio in a matter of what? 6 or 7 days. It goes from a couple thousand to, I've heard a report of almost 15,000 in that one location. Yet over the weekend, and you can probably clarify, I heard we bust about 3,500 of them to places unknown around the country. So we send 300 back, but we move 3,000 around our country. What is going on? Do we have a country anymore, Congressman? I thought you have to have borders to have a country.
Listen, with Joe Biden as president, I'm not sure what we even have, because everything he's touched as commander-in-chief has completely imploded. We don't have foreign policy. We don't have strength abroad. We obviously don't have a border. We don't have an economy where people can actually get cheap and available products to feed their families and, yes, put gas in their tank. We don't have a rule of law. He just blows through that, putting out unconstitutional orders through the CDC. I'm not quite sure what we have other than an abject catastrophe. But looking at the border, this has been going on for months. The only problem is that you see this surge of Haitian immigrants now. But if you talk to Border Patrol officials, I've been down there twice for multiple days. The vice president was there for about 2 hours. So I don't even think that really counts, but I'll give her the benefit of the doubt. If you talk to them at the border, they will tell you that they're completely overrun because this administration has blown up every enforcement policy that they have used to maintain border security, and they don't take it seriously, because if Joe Biden actually wanted to secure the border, he would secure the border, and you wouldn't be seeing this. Their problem is you can't ignore the footage of people literally creating mass camps under a bridge in Del Rio, Texas. And that's why this looks so awful for them.
Yeah, and I don't know if we have the video, but over the weekend I saw, because I know that Governor Abbott sent down everything from county sheriffs to Texas marshals. I don't know if there's some guard members down there, but I saw a video of, and it looked like it should be, it was literally a bunch of sheriffs on horseback wrangling the illegals right at the river and pushing them back, literally going, turn around and go back. And that's what we've come to now because of Joe Biden.
Let's focus on that one for a point. Yes, that is exactly what's happening. You have men on horseback with ropes, lassoing Haitian illegal immigrants in the United States. Do you even understand what the big media would say if Donald Trump was president and you had white men in sheriff's uniforms lassoing black people on the southern border?
So glad you pointed that out. That's where I was going.
That's what the left will be talking about. This is a return to slavery. Right. They would talk about white supremacy and the return of Jim Crow and all of that. No, this is all happening under Biden's America, because the same Joe Biden that's lassoing Haitian immigrants down in Texas is the same Joe Biden that's telling black people in New York that they can't go get a meal because they chose not to get vaccinated. This is the same Joe Biden. It's the same idiocy all across our country.
Speaking of black versus white, this is a little off subject from immigration, but I knew you'd get a kick out of it, so I thought I'd throw it at you. And we know how woke Hollywood is, because let's be real, the Democrats and the liberal elite and Hollywood, they're one and the same. I mean, come on, they covered for Harvey Weinstein for decades. These guys they're cut from the same cloth. They're the same scum. The Emmys, primetime, all whiteys that won. No diversity at the Emmys this weekend. Congressman, did you see that? I can't believe that the woke Hollywood elite just gave all those shiny little statues to white folk. That doesn't look very woke to me.
I have no idea what the Emmys even do. I never watch. I was watching Sunday Night Football. Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes put on a show for America. That was way more entertaining than whatever these knuckleheads in Hollywood do when they give themselves awards and pat themselves on the back for their courage speaking out, while then after the award show is over, they go back to their mega mansions in the Hollywood Hills. I ignore them. I don't care what they're doing. Most Americans don't. That's why their ratings have gone in the toilet over the last 15 years.
Good point.
But you are right about one thing. They are indicative of the idiotic mindset that pervades too many liberals in our country. And that's this fake idea that if you just virtue signal and you feign moral outrage, that somehow fixes things. Right. No, what fixes things in our country are actual plans, actual conservative policies that allow people to grow and to thrive and to prosper in the United States.
Let's go back to the vaccination. Read a little bit about that before you came on. Hopefully you heard me say that. So Friday there was the big meeting at the FDA, and a bunch of these veteran FDA doctors, scientists, whatnot that have been there for 15, 20 years are resigning soon. And there was a big debate over, one, even mandating the vax for adults. The big discussion, of course, do we need the booster? They okayed it for the much older crowd, but not everybody else.